Boobies.
Hi.
Hello and howdy.
And welcome
To
Boobies.
Boobies, that's
Boobies.
right. And we are your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And we are here to talk to you about a cult classic today.
Yep.
One that I'll admit, on my way here, I was telling Mike the studio door was locked.
It triggered.
And I couldn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
And then like every sound on the street was like making me be like, fuck, the power line's going to go out and then it's going to hit this window and then it's going to stab me. And then I saw a car coming like while I was driving, obviously, because it was the road.
Yeah.
And
death can get pretty creative sometimes.
I know.
Especially
in Final Destination. 2000, the OG. Directed by James Wong, Stephen Quayle,
Yep.
and David R. Ellis.
All of these three great minds came together to give us a really good movie, like a good horror movie, like a fresh, I feel like pretty fresh idea.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen anything kind of like it before.
I hadn't known until today when like looking it up and stuff, like to write down who directed it and stuff, that the original script was written for an episode of X-Files.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no clue, but watching it today, I was like,
it sounds about right.
Yeah. I was like, this is 1000% something that could have happened in the X-Files. And instead of Shrek and whatever his name was, it should have been Mulder and Scully.
Mulder and Scully. That could have been good.
I only remembered Shrek's name because his name was Shrek.
I haven't seen much of like the X-Files before. So, but I've seen a couple episodes.
I
but
loved the X-Files.
This sounds very much like up that alley.
Yeah. The X-Files was like one of the not comfort, but it was like kind of like a family show growing up that we would be like, okay, X-Files is on. We'd watch it.
Wow.
And then also,
yeah, I can see that.
It was like a comfort. I rewatched it in college. And so I would just be like, I'm having a bad day. Turn on the X-Files.
I've seen a few episodes recently. And it's really cool because now I see like how it's referenced so much in other things, and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is neat. And that is a TV show that there was one episode that had a bowling alley or something.
It's like Goosebumps, but for adults.
Yes, it basically is. And there was like this dead person in the bowling alley or something, like a ghost or an alien thing. I don't know. But I think of it every time I'm in a bowling alley.
I think that is a good piece of art.
Which is at least like once a year. Because,
you get reminded of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it stuck with me. And that was one, I haven't seen that one since I was a child.
We'll have to find it.
Yeah.
We'll
because I guess I didn't completely finish the series when I was rewatching it in college.
I mean, there's a lot of seasons, right?
Yes. There's a lot of seasons.
I'm looking at it right here. Bada being 11 seasons.
Yeah, that's that's too many.
Yeah, 11 of them spanning. Well, that's spanning pretty long from like 93 all the way right before we were born. That's super cool. All the way up until 2016.
Yeah, that's forever.
Damn, yeah, that's a long time.
Yep.
Well, that's crazy. Even like just thinking of shows like that Grey's Anatomy show, like it's gonna be like it's been on for like forever.
That one,
I think they're gonna end it finally, but
it needs to stop.
They're ending it this year, I believe, or with this next season. I think
every time someone's like, "Oh my god, you haven't seen this," I'm like, "No, that is way too big of a commitment."
But we'll see.
I cannot get into that.
Meanwhile, to start now,
I'll watch an anime that has the first season has 75 episodes, so that's fine.
But they're like shorter.
They're shorter.
Yeah.
They're only 25 minutes.
So it goes by fast. So it doesn't feel as if like you're investing a whole like hour of your time on just one thing where you can fit in like 3 or 4.
Exactly. Exactly. This movie was just over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
It went by
to get
pretty
through.
fast for me.
It did, yeah.
I watched it free on Tubi.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but I mean it had commercials.
I rented it for $2.99 on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I went the
Which
Tubi
is cheaper
route.
than most of normally the Amazon rentals are $3.99.
$3.99. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It just they would have like one here, and then every once in a while would put like 3 ads, and then put another one. So shout out to Tubi.
Yay, Tubi.
Sponsor us. Tubi. Yeah, like you said, it was pretty digestible. If you haven't seen it before, the premise is just basically People are supposed to die. They do not die.
They escape death. Death comes after them.
Yep.
You cannot escape death. Nope. Basically.
That's the tagline.
And can we just talk about how I only thought there were 3? I stopped paying attention after 3. I was like, three's still my favorite.
3's a trilogy.
3 is my
3
favorite.
Is just right.
Final Destination film.
There's 5, and then there's another one that's going to be coming out soon, I believe.
Oh, okay. Because you had said there were 6, and then I looked it up, and it said there was only 5, and so I was like, what? But then I figured we'd talk about it now.
Yeah, they're supposed to be making another one, I believe. It's in the works, or it's getting
I know that 2 and 5 are on Hulu.
Yes.
Which is confusing. Why there? And why only those 2?
And I don't like how number 4 is called The Final Destination when clearly we have Final Destination 5.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't.
If you're gonna stick to, like, if you're trying to build this huge
thing
catalog, know when to stop. And then if you're not intending to stop, don't name it something so final.
Yeah, literally like putting the in front of it makes it seem like it's the last one.
Is it
the final?
Capitalize the? No. Okay.
No, just like capital T H E, the Final Destination, and then there's Final Destination 5. Yeah.
Oh, so silly.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Final Destination 3 was
the roller coaster.
The roller coaster, and I think back in the day it was like promoted as like Final Destination 3D, like it was in 3D. I think in some
that's
theaters.
Right, because I think the DVD had
like those little glasses,
the little 3D glasses,
with the blue
in
and
it.
the red.
Yeah. And I think if you had like the specific kind of television, I remember I had to watch it at my friend's house, and then it was really fun. It had a choose your own ending DVD feature, which was really cool. You could basically like choose to stay on and watch yourself die.
Yeah.
Or you could choose to get off, and I think maybe
I have like a few more options of like how you end up dead.
Basically, it was like those treehouse books, the Magic Treehouse books.
Would you rather get impaled or shot?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Pick A or B. It's like how nowadays they have those like story life apps where it's like games where you like, do this person do this,
I used
or
to
this
make
person do
fun
that?
of my students who would
play those games.
And then one time I downloaded it and I was like,
oh yeah,
fuck, this is really addicting. I was like, I'm gonna marry this goddamn prince.
No, I've played one before. I've been like, so I know
you
the
can
gist of it.
only get the good options if you spend a lot of money.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not going to spend money on this. So
I didn't know that.
I had to choose. It was like, do you want to get dressed up super cute to go to the beach, or do you just want to wear a hoodie and sweatpants? And it was like, pay 5,000
middle
coins.
option?
Yeah. I was like, why can't I just wear like a one piece?
Yeah.
Or something.
You need to send a comment to the creators of the app, an email.
Give us a normal middle ground that's not just something completely off the wall.
You're either trash or you're like,
it was like
class.
always hoodies and sweatpants. It was like, do you want to go to the ball in this gown or hoodie and sweatpants? And I was like, no.
Aww.
Can't I just wear a simple black dress?
Yeah.
Something. Come on.
Man.
Anyways.
Was it a free trial?
No, it was like
the main thing.
You could play it for free.
But you would have to like spend the money to get
if you wanted to have choices that made any sense at all and to get the guy to actually fall for you, you had to pay money.
Dish out the money.
Yeah, and I wasn't willing to at the time.
I mean, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Fictional life. It's not even real.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I
Somewhere though, you are married to a prince.
Yes.
Somewhere. But yeah, this movie has some pretty familiar faces. Excuse me. I'm drinking some ginger ale, so it's like the burps.
Ginger.
But it has who is it? Devon Sawa, Ali Larder.
From so many things.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of things.
Yeah.
On television and film. Tony Todd, who is obviously a Candyman. And then we have some other people that I feel like I've recognized. Kerr Smith, he's been in a few things that I know I've seen. Sean William Scott, dude from was American Pie.
American Pie.
And then we've got I don't know if I've ever seen Terry in anything before, but the other people, everybody was kind of pretty recognizable.
Sean William Scott. Yeah, he was probably, him and Ali Larder and Tony Todd were probably the three
that you
most
like recognize.
noticeable.
Yeah.
Wendy Christensen.
Devon Sawa, I know is
Wendy
like,
Christensen?
I don't know. That's why I was like, I don't think I've seen her.
This must have been probably in one of the...
A sequel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because she has been in a lot. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, Mary Elizabeth. She's the one in the third one. She's in the third one.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I was like, she definitely was not in this.
Yeah, no. Oh, and the teacher, Mrs. Luton. She looked familiar, but I can't place her.
She did. I called her hot teacher at first, and then she became a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What was she? What did she say? Get away from me.
You give me the creeps.
Yeah.
She was in Black Christmas.
Interesting.
Hotel Oklahoma. No clue what that is. But Space, is that like Space Odyssey? Space Above and Beyond. 1995 through 96. I don't know. She was also in Final Destination 5.
Oh, maybe they brought her back, called her back. Or she could have just played a different character.
Yeah. She was in Lady Bird. That was an interesting movie.
I skipped on that one. I didn't watch that one.
Yeah.
Was Saoirse Ronan, right?
If that's the girl, then yes.
Yeah, the younger girl.
Her character honestly annoyed me. I don't know. Oh, speaking of things that annoyed me.
That also had Timothée Chalamet,
yes,
right?
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally watched the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, the one on Netflix?
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
No. I watched it on New Year's Day. So, of course, I was a little hungover.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were some broken bones. And then whenever he was going to make the new face, I was like, I'm getting nauseous.
It wasn't. I didn't really enjoy it too much.
The
social
really
commentary
dumb.
points I didn't really like. Yeah, the whole rewritten of it all, like it like not having the like family a part of it, just like some grandma who like took care of an orphan. It just didn't. It wasn't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
There's a little too much liberty there with changing up the story. Sometimes a story is good, and if you want to redo it, you can redo it. But maybe you just stick with what's already
what's
good.
Been
proven. Tried and true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because as we see, when you do a shot-for-shot remake of like The Hills Have Eyes, it's well received.
Yeah.
Because that was a great remake. So, anyways, but to start this film off, we basically get a nice simple thunderstorm and our title card coming in. We're getting different flashes of kind of like foreshadowing.
It's like the credits going over like the scenes of like a hanging sock monkey and then the fan and then these little airplanes with little what are they called? The little
propellers.
Things, the propellers, going around. So
and the fan blowing open we can clearly gather that someone's going to France. From just the first little bit because there's like
got the passport.
Tour France. Yeah, and the passport and
tickets.
Plane ticket and then one of the France books is being like blown to pages of torture.
Yeah.
And evil.
And so we have all of that happening. We have our main person, Alex, is in the bed. And then at this point, he hears a voice kind of, right? He hears a woman's voice and say his name. It's Alex, which I believe is Claire. Claire's voice, which is just, but
I thought it was his mom.
I was thinking it was Claire, but maybe it could have been his mom. Maybe it could have been his mom.
Yeah, I thought she was waking him up.
Probably. But and then he gets up and then we have him getting ready and talking with his parents about the trip that he's about to take.
Yeah. And he tried to leave the ID tag on or the old luggage tag. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. And he said something about it being good luck or else the plane would crash or something like that.
And his dad's like, well, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and he's like, you've got your whole life ahead of you. And I was like, well, actually, Dad.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
No.
And Mom, you just killed him by taking out that luggage tag.
She pretty much jinxed him.
It's all Mom's fault.
It's all the mom's fault. I'm going to trace it back to Mom.
She actually this was her way of getting rid to live a new life.
What if
she cursed a spell on the plane?
A good idea that they could tie it back to the original is if they had it be like a prequel essentially where it's the mom storyline and she's going through all this shit and then she ends up surviving and having a baby boy and then we find out at the end that it's actually Alex and then death because she keeps avoiding death has comforted Alex.
That would be really cool.
But and then it just ties into the first movie.
Give us royalties.
Actually they did do that. Not like that, but they did on I think the 5th Final Destination. It is a prequel and it ties into the beginning of the first movie.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
So totally
it,
retcon
obviously.
all of that and do our storyline.
Yeah, ours is better.
But yeah, so we have all these signs happening, essentially just kind of making it seem like something bad is going to happen. Something eerie is going on.
Yeah.
There's like an omnipresent force.
Yeah. He just seems real nervous and stuff. And he goes to bed because, this is trip happening the next day.
Yeah.
And he's asleep, and there's this, like, his clock flashes from 1 to 180, which was the flight
it's like
number.
doing this glitchy thing.
Yeah. And then we're at the airport, basically.
Everybody's getting dropped off, all the students. It's this whole senior French. I don't know if it was the whole senior class, but it was the whole French class.
French class, yeah.
Yeah, which was a lot of them. I think it was like 40 students or something like that.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it's a big ass class.
It is.
Well, they did have 2 teachers, so maybe it was like
That's
two
true.
classes, like 20 and 20. That makes sense. But they are all getting off. We have kind of seeing some of the students that we're going to see throughout the rest of the movie, like Billy, Carter, Terry.
Carter being a fucking asshole.
An asshole, which he is throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then we have Todd and Todd's brother's dad, like giving them cash and being like, this is for both of y'all. And he's telling Alex, like, hey, take care of both of them. And that's kind of like our bye-bye to the parents. And then we have them, I guess, getting ready. They're in the, what's that called? Terminals or waiting seating areas?
Yeah, they're in the terminal.
And they're at the gate. And they're, that's whenever
Some
Todd...
dude,
or what?
well, some guy gives him a pamphlet. This is death is not the end.
That's right.
And then the hot teacher comes through and
don't harass my fucking students.
Yeah. But and then we find out that his birthday is the same time as the departure time too, which was like,
oh, and also, it does make sense. Like, this came in 2000, but it was such a, like, I was like, the security and like just they were just asking him, oh, like, did you receive any packages? And that's it. And like, I was like, this is definitely pre 9/11. Yeah. You can just see the just the vibes.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure there was a lot of maybe like the next year, like they were like, oh, like,
yikes.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Awkward.
Yeah. And maybe that's why Final Destination 2 didn't come out till 2 years after. I don't know.
And they were like keeping it on the ground
instead of the year. literally. That's like we'll get to that one. The second one is like chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we are, what are we doing? Oh, this is, I think Todd comes up to him too. And he's like, let's go take a shit.
Which is a good point.
Because we're on a 7-hour flight and we don't want to do it on the airport or the airplane bathroom because what if a hot girl comes in after us,
and smells our poop.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Good call.
And also I just wouldn't want to poop on an airplane. I try to get in and out of those bathrooms as quickly as possible just because they're so tiny and everything in there just feels really gross.
I think I've only used the restroom, like peed in the airplane maybe twice. And I've been on a few airplane rides. I try not to just leave my seat. I just try to not just sit there. I mean, most of my plane rides have always been like 2-ish hours, that sounded like I said something. 2-ish hours. But never longer than that. So like a 7-hour plane ride, I couldn't only imagine. And then like 13-hour plane rides, because I know that's how long it takes to like get all the way to like the other side of the world. Essentially, that's so crazy. Like
going from like here to Korea and or something's like 17.
Yeah, and imagine being on a plane that long
to 19 hours.
That is so like long.
That is.
I would go crazy, honestly, because
I
go
think the
crazy
longest
enough.
I've been is 9.
And the way that I want to go overseas just to like travel and stuff, but I'm just like. I just the thought of being up in the sky that long gives me like cringe.
Eventually, I feel like I don't even notice
anymore that you're up there.
Yeah. And also, I just take so much like Benadryl or sleeping medication
that you just stay asleep.
So I am asleep the whole time. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Or you just watch movies and they're all like 2.5 hours long or something.
So like a 3-4 movies and you're there. Get a marathon. Final Destination 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
There you go. Exactly. But yeah, they go to the bathroom. We've already seen like a shot of the plane. It looks sketch.
It does.
AF just through the window. It's like busted.
Yeah.
It looks like it's gotten in a few like bumps and things.
Already.
Hit some birds out of the sky or something.
The movie's really building up on you feeling like we don't trust this plane.
Yeah. It looked not safe. And they're going to go poop though. And of course, John Denver is playing. Really, John Denver is the culprit. John Denver killed all of them.
Because he comes in throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
And so they like bought the whole catalog. They were like, well, let's make use of this. And
really, they only bought Colorado Rocky Mountain High.
That's right. It was
Rocky
the same
Mountain
one.
High.
And they are obviously taking care of the business, and then as that song comes on, he is having the realization like this is an artist who died in a plane crash, Mr. John Denver. And so we then get them going back out of that. They're getting onto the plane, they're getting their seats, and at that point
we see 666 on the luggage cart beneath him.
We do, and
we also see that like even the door looks like it could just pop open because it was so damaged too. Yeah. So it's just like, no.
Nothing was like up to code.
No,
it seems like.
Not at all.
And so we have him getting to see, but as he's doing that, the two girls, I don't remember their names, but they're like supposed to be the hot popular girls. They come and ask him to switch seats with them.
I'm going to refer to them as Monica and Rachel because in the newspaper clipping that he finds with
Monica and Rachel?
No, it's like Claire and it's not. It's like Blair. No, I don't know. Anyways,
that's something. Yeah.
But in that newspaper clipping where it's describing Miss Luton, what's her name?
Miss
Luton's death. It says Memorial like Scholarship Fund set up for those two, and I had a picture of them. But it looked like in my brain, I was like Monica and Rachel. Just out of the corner of my eye because I was reading the top.
Yeah.
And then but to me it's Monica and Rachel.
It is.
It's a blonde and a brunette.
And then they end up getting him to switch seats with them, even though Todd's like kind of signing to him to not to. And so he goes up, sits next to Todd, and that's whenever he notices that the little
his tray table.
Yeah, the thing is broken.
Which is already, you're supposed to have your tray tables locked and in the upright position.
Yeah, so I don't know what he was doing going for that anyways. And then he's getting a glimpse of like the little pamphlet that tells you like in case of an emergency kind of situation. We're still getting like all of these little weird, he's looking at things and things just seem off. And we have Todd next to him being like, well, now all I can do is watch Stuart Little or something like that.
Yeah,
which I was like, it's a great film.
Did he say Stuart Little? I have no clue.
It was Stuart Little.
I think I missed that.
Oh yeah. He was saying, he was like, man, instead of sitting next to some hot girls, I would now have to like watch Stuart Little or something like that. And then that's whenever they start taking off.
Stuart Little was pre-2000?
I think so. It was like a 99 maybe. Yeah.
That's a good film.
It had to be relevant for them to say.
And it was in New York.
Oh, was it?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think it does New York.
Yeah.
Some metropolitan area.
And so we do have them lifting off. I think after Billy even just had managed to get on the plane, he was a little late. And then that's whenever we're in the sky already. And from the get-go, it kind of happens pretty fast. We have them getting some turbulence, and then everybody thinks like, oh, we're okay. Like, but then it starts going off. And I was like, that is radar.
Not regular turbulence.
Yeah, no. And then everything starts like kind of exploding essentially. We have
plane catches fire. I think does the wing like rip off or something? Yeah, and that's why happens. Probably from the explosion.
Yeah. And then there's like a gaping hole in the plane. Sucks some people out. Miss Luton is hanging on to one of the students, trying to keep her from going out of the thing. But she doesn't, she's trying to reach for her, but she doesn't quite get her hand. And she gets sucked out. And then really fast after that, it's kind of like a chain reaction. We have like an explosion of like going all the way to the back, and then it just all explodes. And everybody's engulfed in flames. Yeah. Like
so there's no surviving.
No surviving. Yeah. Which really sucks. Yeah.
I mean, there is a small possibility to survive a plane crash.
If it like maybe went down or like something,
especially
but everything
considering
just, like,
they were still so close to land or like to the ground. Their altitude wasn't that high yet. And that they were still, they were above water. I feel like water landings are one of the more like safer options because your seat's a flotation device and everything like that. And there's typically life vest. Depends
on where in the water. There in a bay or wherever they were, because they were so pretty close. That's fine. But like imagine being in the middle of the ocean.
And a shark gets
death. That's and
Jaws
I would 2.0. I would rather have, if it was like choosing over like mountains or like a forest or something, I would rather crash there and have a maybe chance of survival and foraging and being
you could
there.
Find fresh water,
And then
hopefully.
also like being on land as opposed to like crashing in the middle of the ocean, because then you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do.
You're going to die of dehydration
if the animals
else.
don't get you, or like the seawater, the sun, like, oh my gosh. Can I imagine? That's so scary.
Scary.
No, and starting this movie too, honestly, I was sitting there and I kind of had like a mini crisis. I kind of had like an existential moment, because I was like, my mortality like was like flashing before my eyes, and I was just like, my God, like I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die one day.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna be here. This is it. This is one life, and I'm thinking like I'm not gonna be here forever, and that's really like
my brain thought that during Todd's little speech, saying that we wake up and we don't, with like every hour scheduled in our afternoon, but none of it is guaranteed kind of thing. And I was like, oh fuck,
it's really morbid. And you want to get to a place where you're like, all right, I accept it, like, you know, we're gonna die, it's okay. But no, I'm working on it. That's a little scary. That's frightening. That's like, whoa.
I mean, I've mentioned it every time I'm in a movie theater.
I don't even think it's like, oh yeah.
It doesn't necessarily happen when I'm watching a movie every time, but every time I'm in a movie theater, it could be the happiest film. Yeah. And then all of a sudden at some point during the film, I become like overwhelmingly aware of the fact that I'm going to die.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what. And it's just like, and I have to just like.
You have to think it away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. It's crazy. It's wild. I like
stupid brains
sometimes lose sleep thinking about that.
I used to as a kid. Mm-hmm. Oh goodness, I had the most like petrifying fear of death. Yeah, and my family dying.
Yeah,
and
people that you care about.
Oh yeah, it was really bad. Which they kind of talked about at the end.
Yeah. And so we're kicking things off because we come back to real life. That was all a premonition.
He was like having some sort of dream. He basically wakes up in the middle of everything he just saw. And
the hot girl's asking him, hey, can we switch seats with you? Because we really want to sit together. And he's like, what?
Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is
rightfully
weird.
So. Which he goes to up there. He's like, yeah, sure. He goes, and as soon as he's looking over at the seat that he's supposed to take, he notices the exact same thing. The little tray thing is broken. And at this point, it doesn't take much. He's freaking out already. He's like, you guys, the plane is going to explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, if someone started yelling that on my plane,
I'm off.
I would get off too. And I'd be like, you know what? I don't care if you're just playing a joke.
It's a hoax.
But I'm going to not risk it.
I'll take a bus. Yep. I'm canceling the whole trip.
Yep, exactly.
I'm not even getting on the next flight out.
Nope.
Like, that's already like a sign.
Go home.
We can go home.
This is wrong. Yep.
We will take this trip once I forget about this experience.
Exactly. Yeah, he gets off. At this point, I didn't know any of their names. So then I was like, poop guy follows, which is Todd.
We have Carter getting thrown off because he was the one who picked the fight with him.
Yeah, I said dickhead and his girlfriend. Weird,
Terry,
cute girl.
And
which was Clear.
Which I'm like, for the life of me, why couldn't they just call her Claire?
Claire. I thought it was Claire at first, and I thought I was just hearing I thought it was like a Jersey accent or something.
No, it's Clear. Like literally Clear, because her name is Rivers. So Clear Rivers.
Yeah.
That's the horrible. It's horrible. Just call her Claire Rivers. We get it. It's still punny. You don't have to be so like on the nose of Clear Rivers.
I would change my name.
Honestly, it burgs me. It burgs me.
Bergs.
It burgs me. It makes me feel just like, ugh. And so we have them all getting kicked off the plane. And Miss Luton follows with the other teacher as well. We have them coming off the plane. They're all in their like whatever waiting gate area. Mm-hmm. We have
Billy can't get on
because they are not letting anyone else on the plane, and the teachers have to decide amongst themselves like only one teacher can go right now. And Miss Luton was gonna go, but then that teacher is like, you know what? No, or she tells him like, you're good with the French stuff. You know it better, so you go ahead and go with them.
The whole time he was speaking in French.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that really ties in with her. I feel like emotionally wrecked because he was like, you go, and she was very insistable, like, no, you go, and I'll catch up later. And I feel like she probably later was like, I killed that man.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, and because she does say that she says something about her kind of sending him to his death. Mm-hmm. And she forced him to get on the plane. It was like, no, you didn't.
You didn't, and it's not her fault, but.
I mean,
it's very understandable how she can feel like the survivor's guilt in that essence.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, of course, she couldn't have actually known that was really going to happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I mean, even if I did hear it and choose to get off, I don't know if I would still be like, well, that plane's definitely going to blow up.
Yeah.
Like, I would still be like, okay.
I'd be like, it's your decision, but you can go.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, no, don't go. I believe this kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You ready to go back in?
Yes.
Okay.
I think my anxiety's a little high maybe from watching it. Because
this it was really I feel that too, because I felt
still
like
to
that
this day won't get in a fucking tanning bed.
from the third one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also, because of the third one, am still, and I can't drive anytime I see a truck carrying anything.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
switch lanes.
no, especially if it's logs.
Yeah.
I'm like, get the fuck out of my way.
Or like things that carry like the big cinder block things or like construction parts. I'm like, even if it looks secure, I'm just like, I'll just get out the way, because you never know.
Also sitting, every time I see a nail gun, I also, the third one was my favorite, growing up anyways.
Yeah.
And so then like the nail gun scene at the end of the third one where they're like, trying to reenact it. And it's like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, and then I get that intrusive thought that's like, you try it.
It doesn't hurt that bad.
I can't. Ooh, it's a nail gun.
You know, I've kind of always wanted to do the thing.
Where you staple your hand?
No.
Oh.
Where you like step on a nail and you let a nail go through your foot. Because some part of me, for some reason, doesn't think that it hurts that bad.
Oh, it does.
Like, how bad?
I've had a rusty nail go like halfway through my foot.
How bad was that?
I mean, I was young and I have a pretty high pain tolerance. So I think I was not happy.
Yeah. Were you getting tears, crying? Or you're just like, oh, that just really hurts. Can y'all take it out?
I probably was crying, yeah.
Man. For some reason, when I see it in movies, like I know it, like I just don't know. I just feel like I just want to know what that feeling feels like, but without feeling the pain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I just want to feel like you go through, but not feel pain.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
I am also intrigued now. It didn't go all the way through the top of my foot.
Yeah.
So I don't know the true feeling.
And then it just makes me feel like your foot's made out of Jello, even though I had to get
a tetanus shot after.
Yeah. Otherwise, you die.
Yeah.
You could die.
Lockjaw.
Oh.
Anytime my jaw started hurting that night, because my mom told me about lockjaw at that point in time, and I was like still pretty young.
Yeah.
And then I was like, so my brain spiraled and like every single time I was like, Mom, my jaw's feeling a little tight.
That's how I felt about meningitis. Anytime I had kind of like a headache that kind of came back here, I'd be like, oh my God, I got meningitis.
I had a meningitis.
I'm going to die in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go get a spinal tap.
Jesus. Bada ding dum boom. So we're all in the gate waiting area, and that's whenever Alex is kind of talking about like what he saw. He's telling, because Miss Luton, she's like, what did you see? What's going on? And he said, well, I saw like a dream that the plane was crashing and we all died. Carter is still kind of being a dick about it. And he's they get into a fist fight.
Yeah. And like we had already found out they were only going to be 3 hours later.
Yeah.
They were just going to take the next flight, which is like, Carter, why the fuck are you acting like this?
Yeah. He's a hothead.
Calm the fuck down.
He's a hothead.
Terry's like blaming him.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then, that's why Carter's like, they start fighting. And it's just like, yo, Alex potentially just saved your lives. You don't even fucking know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sure enough.
But they're all teenagers. Even though they're like way older than teenagers. And
they really do.
Sure enough, we have Billy looking out of the window as the plane is taking off, and it just explodes in the sky, and which sends a shockwave, and all the glass breaks through the windows, and the police immediately start getting off the two boys and just like call it in and run off. And so we have them all kind of looking at.
I wondered, do you think that do you think it would have actually shattered that
I don't think
glass?
so.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so.
I think
either.
that was a bit dramatic.
Airport glass.
Yeah.
It was kind of far away.
It was a bit away. And
then I imagine that glass is like, like that bulletproof
thick.
shit. Yeah.
Thick. I don't know, some type of commercial glass at least. But I think that was a little bit dramatic, and I think it was just more for us to like be like, oh my God. But obviously they're all looking at Alex like, geez, okay, that's weird. What the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have
they're obviously taken in for questioning.
Yeah, they get taken into the like waiting areas. They're waiting for the parents to come pick them up, and they're getting interrogated by the FBI because it's obviously pretty weird that Alex says the plane's going to blow up, and then what happens? Plane blows up.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's trying to figure out why they got off the plane, and everyone's just saying, well, it's because Alex, the fight, and then they're asking the individual students, and then they're asking Clear, like, why did you get off? And she's like, well, I saw him and what he was saying, and I believed him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she was just like, she truly believed like the fear that he had in his eyes.
And this is where we get those two FBI agents that should have, like, I guess were originally supposed to be Mulder and Scully, but we get Shrek and other dude.
Yeah.
Shrek is the not main investigator, but obviously I only remember his name.
Yeah.
Because it's
I didn't even remember the Shrek name, honestly. I don't even think I've ever.
Yeah, his name was
that.
Shrek.
Shrek.
Agent Shrek. And I was like,
and I think Shrek came out the following year. Yeah. And so we have all the parents coming in finally. But it's a little sad moment because Clear has no one come in for her.
I know. I was like, oh man, no parents for her.
Yeah.
This is really sad.
And we have them dropping. Clear went and took a ride with Alex and his parents. I guess they might live close to each other, probably a street or something over. And so she gets dropped off, which is also really weird because she's like, thank you. And then kind of lingers there like at the door, and she's just like, and then closes it. I was like, she's so awkward.
She is.
Yeah.
And she did a great job of playing that.
And then we have him at home with his parents, and he kind of like, he's crying into his mom's arms. We then have them all asleep, but he's not asleep. He's listening and watching to the news, describing, I'm assuming he probably hadn't slept all night, and this has got to be like the 5 a.m. news or something like that. Oh yeah,
describing the plane crash and saying, that they've been searching all night, but it's likely that there are no survivors other than the 6 people who departed, or 7.
Even the news mentions it, but they're like, there are no details as to why or what happened and whatever on why they departed.
Yeah.
So we do have the lightning striking outside, and there's a storm, and he goes and looks through the window.
Even with the water and stuff, they were talking about how there was like oil fires on the water too. So that's really scary. Even if you landed in the water, you just sit there
and burn.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could go under the water and swim till there's no fire, and then get out. But hope it's not like, hope you can hold your breath that long.
Yeah. So. And I mean, even in the moment too, like, who knows what to do in that moment. You know what I mean? Fight.
I think I would almost rather die.
Just take me out now.
Yeah.
I don't want to struggle.
Because I also wouldn't want to be in the water in the dark.
Yeah, that's really scary.
Because that's really scary.
Especially not being able to see what's underneath you.
Nope. Yeah. I went snorkeling once and I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
After seeing the little world that was down there, and I was like, nope.
This is scary.
Yeah. My body was like, And then the water was cold too. And so then I was just like, I hyperventilated.
How was the waves for you? Was it chill?
In the water or on the boat?
In the water. I guess both. I don't know.
In the water, it was okay. I didn't notice too much because like once you have your head down, I got off at the second stop and actually snorkeled. But whenever you're in the water, you're like swimming and you don't really notice.
Yeah.
But when you're on the boat and stuff and it's just sitting there and like, so then whenever I got like only 2 minutes in or something, the first round I had to go sit at the boat for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got kind of seasick.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I've been snorkeling before, like in the water off of Miami, the Keys areas over there in Florida. And like going down there, the water was really like strong that day, choppy. And so like I was just like having a hard time like keeping my bearings, you know? But so that was one thing. But like, yeah, like being in the ocean and like literally looking all around you and like, it's like you can only see so far and everything's just blue. Everything's just like blue. And then it's just like the same thing. But then you see the fish around you and it's really like, it's a little scary.
It is.
Yeah. And I saw a barracuda and it looked so scary because it was just there like so still in the water. I was like, how is it even still? And it was just sitting there waiting for something to go by. And I was like, I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah, there's at one point people were like, there's an eel over here. And I was like, I think the fuck not.
Yeah.
I was like running away. Also put sunscreen on your butt whenever you snorkel because I had a really lovely butt sunburn.
That's not cute. You can't sit on those.
It's not. It hurt. But anyways, poor Alex having to watch the news and then he, you know, is getting that weird feeling like something's not right. We can tell because he gets up, he goes, looks out the window. Yeah. Lightning strikes right outside his house. And then we flash to 39 days later.
Yeah. And we're having like a memorial service at the school. They're unveiling this statue that's supposed to represent, you know, the students and the teachers that passed away, kind of like a remembrance thing. That's what a memorial is. And they're all there about to pass some like flowers, but we do see some like weird like head, like some gazes from like Todd's dad to Alex, and then Alex looking at Clear, and then we have
Alex looking at the FBI agents.
Exactly. Everybody's just looking at each other. Yeah. And we do have them finally, I think we do have some dialogue between some of the teachers and Miss Luton, and then she's kind of like, she's obviously really messed up about the whole experience. And that's whenever we do have them all getting up to go lay flowers up by the statue.
Which, it was an eagle. Did that not feel in poor taste?
I don't know. Because of like how they fly? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like their souls are gonna take flight when they die. I don't know. It felt like a little bit. I was like, ooh, we could have picked
a little
something
too on the
else.
Nose.
Like a raccoon.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
don't know. Trash panda.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But maybe you're right. An eagle is not the best choice. Maybe something that stays on the ground.
Yeah, like
but
maybe just like
were they the eagles?
No,
I don't know, right?
It looked like a little like lumberjack on that little mug she had, or like a George Washington.
Oh, that's
type.
right. Yeah.
You know, with those powder wigs.
I don't know.
But
I agree with you. You know what? I agree with you. And
Carter's being an asshole.
Still a butthole to Alex, which they happen to be in line right next to each other.
He's like, I'm never going to die.
Yeah, he's like, I die on my own terms or something like that.
You are, bud. And then fucking Billy comes up and he was like, I couldn't believe
He's
this.
asking him questions essentially because he thinks Alex is like he can see the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's psychic.
Billy like seems to actually believe him.
Yeah.
Kind of, because he was like, well, tell me. He says, I took my driver's test today, got a 70, which is like the low score you can get, but I still passed. Yeah. And then he says, and at the end of it, the guy turns to me and says, young man, you're going to die at a very young age. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Your driver's test guy said that to you?
Yeah, probably because of his reckless driving.
That makes so much more sense. I was thinking that this was a driver's test person by day and then like psychic tarot reader witchy by night.
It could still very well be. But no, I think that just had to be in reference to like because of his poor score. And so he's a really bad driver. No, you're not. And so that's whenever we do have, after that, he's like trying to, am I going to, if I ask out what's her name, will she go out with me? And then Alex is just telling them like, not now, not ever. Like, just leave me alone. Like, I'm not going to do that. And we do have him then finally going up to the little statue of the eagle, and Todd goes up there with him. And that's whenever they're talking, kind of to try and not seem like they're talking to each other, because as Todd is mentioning, his dad still feels a little bit weird about Alex, because his brother died in that plane crash as well. And I guess, Todd's dad is just like he's a witch. He's a witch.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Bam!
I don't know what it is.
He saw people have a fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And his dad definitely embodied that.
Mm-hmm.
And we also got here the interaction between Lou
the teacher
and saying that, you scare the hell out of me, basically. And it's like, okay, maybe just everyone's sitting here blaming him, basically, until Clear walks up, hands him the rose, which I was like,
yeah, she's
girl.
like, I owe you the rose because you say when I'm like, there is a time and place. Maybe don't do that in front of everybody.
Everyone, I was like, maybe just put the rose on the pile like everyone else.
And just thank the boy.
Yeah. Seemed a little weird, but whatever.
Because essentially, I mean, you're still paying your respects. They still died.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They still died. You're alive. Great.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell him that you're thankful for him, but don't give him the rose. That's fucking weird.
And I love when the boys are talking as well, and even Alex is like, hey, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but like, I miss you.
Yeah.
It's like the no homo before no homo. Yeah.
If we keep our socks on.
Yeah. And so that's whenever, like you said, Clearhead gave him the flower. We do have Todd giving a speech.
This is that really sad poem we mentioned earlier.
That made you feel existential about life and your mortality.
And then we get him going to the bathroom.
Yeah, back at his house. It's nighttime. He's obviously getting ready for poor bed, it seems like. And already we're getting some spooky vibes. It seems like something's off.
Yeah, there's a wind blowing through the window. It closes the door, which no, we don't do doors closing on their own. That's scary.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what was he doing? Oh, he went to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he's
classic Todd.
Yep, he's using the restroom like he usually does, but then we do see like that water starts dripping or leaking out of the toilet area. So we're kind of getting this like setup of like something's brewing, something bad is about to happen.
And we flash to Alex doing a bunch of shady ass looking research.
Yeah.
Which I was like, boy, this is making you look suspicious as hell. The FBI is already like kind of looking in on you. And then you've got like this pile of plane crash books and stuff. And it's
things
like,
that really make him seem sketchy.
Yeah.
But he's just trying to understand like how and why and
what in the world could have happened.
And understand why he's having that. He had that premonition, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's kind of getting fed up with what I guess he's like at a dead end or something. So he's like, I'm going to look at some porn. And he brings out his little porn magazine.
Yeah.
And he's trying to look at it. But it cuts back to Todd, and we have Todd in his restroom, and he's
shaving.
He's trying to dry shave, and he ends up immediately nicking his neck.
And I was like, maybe don't dry shave. Dumbass.
Yeah, with a very sharp blade. And then after doing that, he starts trimming his nose hairs. So with some scissors. So at every moment you think like this man is about to like trip and like stab himself, or he's gonna slice his neck.
Because we're also seeing this weird like gray mass behind him in the mirror, and he even sees it.
Yeah.
And
it's like a dark figure. Oh. It's death.
Yeah.
But we also, I don't know how much I cared for it. I'm glad that I know in the second and third one, they don't necessarily do a shadow figure like that. It's just like a wind or like a feeling that, you know, that
something's about to happen.
That the actors are really good at portraying of like, it's almost like Spidey senses. They're like, whoa, you know?
My Spidey senses.
Yeah, they're and so that's
because this made it feel very supernatural. Which again, that blob, that mass, very fitting for X-Files.
You're right.
That would have made perfect sense.
You're right.
So
it does feel like it's on par like that.
Yeah.
Or like with like Charmed. Do you remember Charmed?
Yeah.
Like how like the villains would be kind of like shadows like that or something.
Yes, definitely.
And so we have all of this stuff happening. We think he's about to die, but he doesn't. It's a little bit of a fake out because then we have him taking, which I don't know.
Well, and we also get seems like it's going to be an electrocution with
that's
the
right.
boombox.
He does. And John Diver plays on it. Yeah.
And so he's like, nope.
Yeah.
Unplugs that. And he narrowly missed the water, like with the connection happening.
So he could have gotten electrocuted.
Yeah.
And then we do have
we flash back to
what's his face?
Yeah, Alex at this point. An owl like slams into his window, which was like, nope, that's scary. Owls are typically
not a good sign.
Yeah, not a good sign. Kind of a bad omen. And then his magazine like gets shredded by the fan. And
a little piece falls and it says Todd. And we cut back to Todd, and he's trying to take some clothes off of a clothesline that they for some reason put in their restroom.
Yeah.
I guess
I've hung my swimsuit up over the tub before.
I mean, I get that, but like never put a wire like in the middle of the room.
Yeah, just put it on the rack.
That seems like a problem, like waiting to happen.
like exactly like this.
Yeah. And so immediately Todd slips and he ends up falling into the tub, and that wire gets wrapped around his neck, but the part that's still hanging up at the top is still at the top, hanging around what seems to be the shower head or something up there, and he's
something
choking.
Strong enough to hold his whole body.
He is choking, and it's getting tighter and tighter as he's like trying to get away, trying to grab like the scissors that are on the kitchen sink.
And of course, his feet are wet because he slipped into the tub.
Yeah,
and so he can't get his footing.
Good traction, and he's freaking out. And essentially, it seems to me very supernatural at this point too, because that string is just getting like yanked
tighter,
more and more. Because also we do see that it's all making it seem and look as though he's killed himself. It's suicide, because then that water recedes and everything goes back as he's dying. Death accomplishes its goal, and we have in the same time Alex is like trying to run up to the house, and so but by the time he gets there it's a little too late, because we do already see the fire, the police flashing lights,
everyone there,
ambulance, and he's being brought out in a body bag. Not before Claire he can spot Claire, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Get out of here, Alex."
Yeah.
And he's right.
He's like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah. And I mean, like, get out of where? Like, he's like in the middle of the road. Like, everybody sees him.
Seen.
Yeah. It would look even weirder if he just starts running.
Dad comes up to him too. Like, Dad's already seen him.
Yeah.
And Dad comes up to him to deliver a message.
Because Alex is like, what's happened? And he's like, isn't it obvious? Like, he killed himself because you allowed his brother to die or something.
He said it was Alex's fault for causing Todd so much guilt that he took his own life.
Which stupid, but okay. I'm like, Dad is grieving though, so we'll give him a pass. It's we do have then
the next day he's going back home, I guess, or he's just taking another walk, but he goes to Claire's house. And she's like welding, so she's I guess she's like a level, sculptor. And she's pointing out the obvious, basically saying it's weird that the FBI was there investigating last night. She was like, as far as I know, the FBI doesn't investigate teen suicides.
Yeah.
So clearly they think something else is going on here. Yeah. And that was where I was like, yeah, because Agent and Mulder and Scully weren't really FBI. They were like Men in Black.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
And so we do have them talking, and Claire's like on a whole nother level of just like weird girl vibes.
I thought she was like, I was like, damn, is she hitting on him with this sculpture right now?
She was, but like in a very intellectual way.
It was. I was like, okay.
She's coming on very strong.
I can
honestly
still feel you.
Yeah, she's coming on very strong.
She was.
And then it kind of went very deep. She's like, we've been in the same grade for like all these years, and we've never said a word to each other, and all this stuff. But she's like you said, laying it on thick.
But in that moment, I could feel what you were feeling, and I can still feel you. So something is still wrong.
Yeah. And so he's trying to explain to her, I guess, what he's feeling and how it's going, and basically how he thinks that death is still after them, which essentially it is.
And he was like, I don't think he completed suicide. And she was like, he says like, I wish we could ask him. And she's like,
well, let's ask.
Go. Yeah.
Which is so weird too, because I'm just like, girl, Claire, you're a whole like, because then they start breaking into the morgue.
Are they gonna break into a morgue?
They do.
And a funeral home, mortuary.
They do, but it's the way that whenever they're breaking into, she's like, oh my god, that's such a rush.
Yeah,
I love doing bad things. Yeah, I was just like, that's a sign of someone who's like about to do like criminal life.
Yep.
Yeah. So we do have them, whatever, breaking in. They get into the whatever that room is.
Yeah.
Embalming room.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so that's whenever they're in there looking at Todd's body, and then Tony Todd comes up from the shadows as
and Todd's
the mortician.
Body, like,
Oh, that's
his
right.
arm.
It does do this like post-mortem, like little flippity flip.
Yeah.
And that's whenever Alex is asking the mortician, like, why do you do that? And the mortician is like, the chemicals that we're putting in his body, that's all. It's just essentially like, even like, I know after some people die, like, their nerve endings still are working. So like people's bodies can twitch still or move or whatever. And so that's whenever Alex is just asking the mortician questions, and the mortician is laughing because I don't know how it starts off, but the mortician's laughing because he's like, you think you can like defeat death's design.
Yeah, he says in death there are no accidents, no like mishaps, no nothing like that, no escapes is basically what he ends that phrase with. And he was like, anything that happens, like airplanes we walk out of, death has a new design for all of you, and you just have to figure out how and when it's coming at you. And it's a really kind of nice speech.
Yeah. And nowhere does he say like, and this is how you can beat it, and this is how you win. Like, he's just essentially saying like, you're gonna die. I mean, that's it.
Clearly you got out of it, and it's still coming for you because homeboy's dead.
Yeah.
And because they were saying like, what are these cuts on his fingers?
Oh yeah, that's right.
And they were mini lacerations.
The cuticles were like trying to break
from
through
trying
the
to
string.
get through the cord, which, and then he was like, well, that means he didn't kill himself. And I was like, well,
some people can still try to kill themselves, and then he was like second, but we know that he didn't. Yeah. And so that's whenever we do have them figuring out, okay, or he kind of has an epiphany, like, all I have to do is figure out death's design and we'll beat it. And then they end up leaving. It's pretty much it that we have with Mr. Tony Todd. And then we do
and he says, I'll see you soon.
Oh, that's right.
Which is very
creepy, but he's like, you're gonna die. Yeah. And so we do have them talking, I guess it's the next day. I don't know how, because it seemed like it was nighttime when they busted up in there, but it's daylight. They're at this little cafe and they're talking. He's trying to tell Clear, like, I can, as long as I pay attention to the signs, and like, he
tells her about the newspaper clipping.
I can figure it out.
And then she kind of mocks him. She was like, oh, so I'm having this coffee. So I'm gonna C for coffee, gonna like die because, her name's Clear, starts with a C. Yeah. Coffee. Thing like that.
She's patronizing him.
Yeah.
And she's basically saying like, you're going to go crazy if you try to look at the signs and try to figure out your death. She's like, we are alive, and like, that's it. Like, and that's it. That's, she's pretty much what I feel like most of us are usually just like, not facing death or thinking about it. She's basically trying to ignore it. But then he does see this bus pass through like the reflection of the window, but there's no premonition, but there's no bus on the other side. So obviously it's a vision. Yeah.
And we're like, oh.
And so that's whenever he gets up and he's like, saying like, basically, you can believe me or not, but I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to, and then he almost gets hit by a bus at that point, right? That's later. That's later. My bad.
This is where Carter is driving past.
Oh, that's right.
Pulls that dickhead move because he sees them there drinking coffee.
And then he's like,
I have to
Billy.
get into this. Like, I'm going to put my nose in everything. Yeah. Almost takes out Billy and causes like a 3-car pile up almost. Turns around, gets out of his car. And of course, it's him and Terry. And then, Miss Luton has to walk out at that point as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's there. Billy, after he got himself up off the pavement. Yeah. And Terry's basically saying like, I'm over this. I want to live my life. Like, that's just what I'm going to do now. This isn't going to be the most important moment in my life.
She's like, they're dead. I'm not.
And then she walks into the road, and
it's a Regina George moment.
It is.
She gets struck by that bus.
But so hard that
bus.
Blood comes out.
Yeah. And it goes all over Miss Luton and the kids, and they're all like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That bus was going way too fast for that kind of road.
Probably.
To have like had that amount of impact on her.
But it's a whole bus too. That's a lot of momentum hitting you.
That's true. But I feel like it had to be going at least like 50 miles an hour, which that seemed like, if you have a little cafe. It should have been like a
30 or 20 area.
30 is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if 30 would have done it.
But we needed the blood and guts.
Yeah.
And so they're
maybe the
all
brakes
like,
were out on it, like in Final Destination 3.
Oh, yeah.
When he's sitting at the drive-thru, I get scared at drive-thrus with a hill behind me.
By the time we get through this episode, we'll have recapped all the deaths from Final Destination 3 as well.
It is. It's true.
And it also gave like that Speed movie with Sandra Bullock whenever the brakes are cut off on the. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think so.
On the bus. So yeah, it's like a public bus and someone puts a bomb on it and like they have to keep the bus going over 80 miles per hour or else it blows up. It's way too fast, obviously, for any bus.
Have I seen that?
It's a really good movie. You should watch it. It's not a scary movie.
Maybe
really,
I've just heard the plot
of it. It's like
a
thriller-ish movie. It's pretty good. It's got Anthony Hopkins. He's the villain. Mr. Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. And cool. Keanu Reeves.
Oh, nice.
Him and Sandra are the main two people. But we do have Homegirl's dead. And so that's whenever we're watching the news again that night, I guess, and
it shows
going
how
over
the explosion happened.
Oh, that's right. The explanation for it.
Yeah. And so basically he can see the trajectory and combine that with his mind of, his memory,
his vision,
and see how the explosion would have hit them and basically see the order that they would have died in on the plane.
And he puts 2 and 2 together that's how the people in real life are dying.
Yep. Because he was like, Todd went first and he would have been the first because it was by his seat that it exploded.
Yeah.
And then he said Terry would have been the next in line from the 6 who are still alive.
And then next it was
Mrs. Luton.
Luton.
Yep. And so, of course, we flash to her house. She's inside, moving away now, I guess, and is, clearly struggling with this and like not wanting to leave this town she had lived in her whole life. And then she looks outside and, of course, fucking Alex is out there snooping around. And I was like, bud,
he's not going about it the right way.
Making yourself look so suspicious.
Yeah.
And then especially because she calls the cops.
She does.
And then he's sitting there like messing with her tires. He could have been cutting a brake line.
Yeah, and
in that moment.
That's exactly what it looks like. Even though whenever they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just making sure there's enough air in the tire." And they're like, "Get in the car. We're going to the station." So he ends up getting driven off to the station, and which in essence as well, I'm thinking like this actually could also be a good thing because if it's in custody and she actually died while in custody, then
it's clearly not him.
It's not him.
Yeah,
but lo and behold.
She doesn't die yet, but she does pull out a record of Mom's favorite.
John Denver. Good old Johnny Boy.
And it apparently
Rocky
John Denver
Mountain High
only has one song, and that is Rocky Mountain High.
Is that song about death? Do you know?
I think it's just about love in Colorado.
Gotcha. Okay.
Colorado, Rocky Mountain High.
Gotcha.
Those are the only words I know.
I don't know any John Denver song really, so I'll have to listen to it after this. I
listened to that song when I was in Colorado.
But maybe I shouldn't play the song because I don't want to die yet.
Yes.
And so we have her in the house.
Denver's sales plummeted after this movie.
Dude, stock went down. And so we do have her making like that tea or drink with the vodka, right? And then
she's making tea and sees the thing in the teapot, sees the mass, and like kind of freaks out. And then she pours the tea and then has another freak out. And you really like kind of are it's edging you again, basically, because as she's going to make the tea, the burner goes out and she has to light it again. And it's a real close up shot of that burner.
Of that pot.
And you're like,
she could explode. Something could happen.
And then it's just poop.
There's a lot of teasing in the movie with are they going to die this way? Are they not? And so which is good because it builds up the tension. And then we do have it leading up to she's got that crack in the cup. And so she's puts it next to the computer, right? Or on top of the computer.
Yeah. And before that, we had even flashed back to Alex and Shrek.
On the cops, yeah.
And basically
he's kind of getting interrogated.
He's saying like, I saw it, and he's saying, this is how it's going to happen, and I wish I knew why I knew this, but and then they were like, I don't know if they said like, could you even do something about it or something? And I was like, could he?
Yeah.
Like, can he save them? I don't know.
And even they're like, look, we thought this was suspicious, but like we obviously know now how the plane crashed, so we don't know like what the connections are here, what's going on, but they're trying to figure it out. But
and you're being the pattern, basically.
Yeah.
And basically then Shrek says, that kid gives me the creeps, and he said, because I almost believed him for a second. I was like, bitch, you should.
Yeah, because
they do
they do have to let him go because they don't have anything to charge him with. And at the same time, he's then rushing to go to Miss Luton's house, and it's unfortunately too late because we do have the it's kind of a lot. She dies really horribly, actually.
She does, yeah, because as you said earlier, that cup dripped.
On the computer, yeah.
Which I don't understand how she doesn't notice that.
Yeah, I don't either.
A, when the ceramic cracked, I would have noticed.
Yeah.
And then B, like, it was dripping hardcore. It wasn't like a little drip, drip, drip. It was
drip, 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 drip. Yeah.
It was a pretty solid line of vodka. And that drips into the computer, causes a hard wire to go.
Starts sparking up.
And it explodes, catches fire, and then, like, it explodes. The window breaks.
Which then puts a shard of glass right in her neck.
Yeah.
Which is not good. She's obviously freaking out. She can't talk.
Losing a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm. And she's trying to get her footing, but she ends up...
She's like slipping in her
own blood right in front of the kitchen and then by the sink and the counter. And then she starts to reach for some freaking
And of
towel.
course, at this point, everything's already on fire because she left a nice perfect trail of her vodka dripping.
That's right.
That the fire came right to her.
Yeah.
And so her whole kitchen's on fire too.
And we do have her trying to pull this towel off of what's on top of, they're on top of the knife holder thing, you know, that wood block. Yeah, that always holds knives. And she pulls it and all these knives fall and poor teacher just gets impaled by these knives, especially the main one, right?
Yeah, it was like the biggest one was right in her stomach. And I thought that towel was going to catch fire at first. Every time she was kind of waving it around.
Yeah.
But it
doesn't happen.
That to happen.
Yeah. And then at this point, we do have Alex walking in, which is just like, oh man. At this point, I'm thinking like, Alex, you deserve to go to jail for this. Because you're making yourself look so bad. Because he then goes in, he's trying to save her. And as he's trying to save her, there's an explosion and a chair falls like over her and ends up impaling her with the blade even more. So she's dead at this point. And he grabs the blade. So
out of her.
His fingerprints are all over the blade, out of her, over her body.
Of course, trampled like through her blood. So he's got bloody footprints all over the house.
He tries to run out. He makes it just in time to get out, be seen by Billy, who just happens to be riding his bike by, and
Billy's
then everything always in the mix. And then we have the whole house exploding.
Yep.
Boom. So we have him, Alex, then getting up and running away.
At this point, I was like, bro, they're all treating you like shit. Like, just let them die.
Yeah.
They're not going to fucking believe you.
Yeah.
Like, fucking come on. They're being rude as hell to you. I don't know.
And so we have Alex running away, and then it cuts to clear, and it's almost seems like she's about to go meet Alex up, but she ends up meeting up what's his face, Carter and Billy. And he's like, why are we meeting at the school memorial thing?
Carter's trying to carve Terry's name into that. And I'm like, bro, your pocket knife
and he can't even do it. And they're asking her why she wanted to meet up with them, and she says that she wants to find Alex, and
because Alex knows who dies next.
Yep. And it'll be beneficial for all of them. So they do go to, like, I guess the park or wherever they're at.
I think they went to the bay where the accident happened.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And they were searching for him, and it doesn't take long for her to find him.
Yeah. She finds him, and they have this pretty sentimental talk about like, you know, is there a special place where everyone gets to keep on living, basically. We get her tragic backstory with her father dying and mother marrying a dickhole.
Yeah.
And basically not wanting a child, so she lives on her own.
Yeah, which I was like, how?
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're not, I don't know. I was like, that seems like CPS, but whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever we have her, like you said, she was being vulnerable. They end up going back to the car. They're all together and they're all kind of talking about the whole death and everything that's happening to them. And so then Carter is just like, who's next? And Alex doesn't say, but it kind of is it is kind of unspoken, like it's Carter who's next, and that's why he's not saying. And even Carter takes it as like, well, it's gonna be me, then let me go out by my own terms. And he starts like freaking going
like, what? And Alex even says, what does it matter? We're all on the same list. And at that point, Carter goes, really? And it was like, yes, really, you dumbass.
Yeah.
And then that's when he was like, yeah,
well, let's just all go out now. And why prolong it?
I'm gonna go out on my own terms
and start speeding,
about to kill them all,
doing not just them, maybe other people, because he's being really reckless, driving through the whole city.
Billy cracked me up. He's like, I fucking hated French class.
Yeah, he was the comic relief for sure. And they end up getting all the way up to out of, I guess, like city limits, and they're over some train tracks, and
while
poor choice
they
of
were
words
driving over there, Alex had a like kind of premonition of the seatbelt ripping, and then also a train approaching, and the window reflection again of the car.
Yeah.
And so then they're obviously telling Carter, stop the car.
Poor choice of words, because he ends up stopping it right on the freaking train tracks.
Yep. And he's like, oh, he'll tell me to stop the car. Yeah.
And so we do hear the freaking horn blaring from the train coming. We hear it on the tracks, and so they're all freaking out. We have Billy and Clear and Alex getting out of the vehicle, and they're trying to tell freaking Carter to get out, but he's just being stupid and he won't get out until finally the train is getting pretty close. And so he's like, you know what, it's time to go. And he tries to turn the car on and doesn't start, and then he's trying to get out of his seatbelt, but it won't come off. So that's like, whenever
and the car locks him in.
Yeah. And then Alex is like being a hero, and he's going to go over there, and he tries to pull Carter out, the dude who's been like being a dick to him this whole time. And it's like literally the most narrow, like they both should have died. But
even with the way that it went, I was like, did they get out? Because the shot that the way that I was like, actually like,
yeah, it looks very,
I was
like,
clenched
close.
because I thought they got hit.
Or I thought that Alex was about to come away with like half a body, you know?
Yes, that was my other thought, because it looked like he didn't get Carter fully out the window.
Yeah.
I thought he was just going to have a torso with him, which honestly would have been pretty cool.
And so they do end up making it.
And if it was like a double whammy and we got Billy right after it the same way.
Yeah, it could have done a double, but we end up having them surviving. They're getting up. Billy is like freaking out. He's like, you know what? Carter is next. I'm going to stay away from him because they still think that he's next.
And he's like talking a lot of shit. He's like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to.
And then instantly gets decapitated, because we did see some little shrapnel of metal underneath the train. And cuts his head right off.
It was a cool decapitation, because it wasn't a clean neck level. It was like right above his upper lip and in between his nose.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of had this like, or like maybe right at the mouth split.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
So he had like a little half head up there.
Yeah.
And then he falls to his knees and falls over. So that's whenever they're like, OMG. So it skipped Carter because I saved his life, and it went over to Billy. And I'm just like, okay, sure, that makes sense. And so that's whenever they're like freaking out.
And he says,
Clear and
Alex is next.
Yeah, Alex and Clear have to like run away essentially because the cops are coming, and then she's gonna go put him in her dad's cabin. And then we have, I guess, you know, what's his face? Why was I gonna say Derek? What's his name? Carter. Staying, because obviously his car was involved in the accident, so he's gonna probably explain like, well,
what the hell happened?
We were trying to get out, and then he died, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever we do have it. Just kind of goes over to Alex, right?
Yeah, we're with Alex in her dad's cabin,
and he's like safety proofing everything.
You can just tell he stinks. He looks so
hasn't
grimy.
showered. It's probably been a week or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like eating something weird out of the can.
Looks like cat food.
Yeah, I was like, is this cat food?
I think
or
it
like
was.
weird mush? At first I thought he was gonna like light one of those things that go under food to keep it warm, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, that was food. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got, you know, like heavy leather gloves on and stuff. Everything is just very like dummy proof.
Yeah.
So that way, and he's like extra chewing this mushy food to make sure that he's not going to choke.
And you can tell he doesn't like it either. What it gives to is maybe like Claire had like left him with a couple things and was like, I'm going to come back in a couple days and give you more food. But because she's being watched by the FBI, she can't leave her house and go there. Otherwise they'll find him.
Yeah.
So he's been kind of just like doing it on his own there. And so we do have, what's her face? Clear then, oh yeah, no, because he's in the house. Yeah, that's right. The wind rolls in,
and you're like, oh, here it
is. We see
is.
leaves coming from under the door, and so it rolls enough to where we have these like fishing poles. Is that what it is, or something falls?
Yeah, it was a fishing pole that got like, I think can of food that he was eating got knocked out of his hand. Then it hit the fishing pole, made the fishing pole like fall over, and then the lure wrapped around the door handle, opened it, and then some sort of knife like was gonna fall through
the fucking door.
Yeah, but he had stopped it, and then he opened it and he found like a rusty lure.
They were the hooks, the lures. Yeah,
and he was like, tetanus, I outsmarted you.
Yeah,
and basically, and I was like, boy, don't taunt this.
He's taunting
like,
death, man.
You gotta stop.
It's getting a little arrogant. And so we do have, it does seem like he's losing his mind.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Clear, and she's looking out the window. She's looking at the cops, and we then don't see her in the window as the cops are looking up, and she's at their car. And I'm like, oh, she's really about to give him up, because she's like, look, if y'all go get him, I have to come with you, and y'all have to make sure that he's safe.
Yeah.
And she's essentially just doing that because she knows like he can't survive out there so long. He's going to die of like starvation or dehydration or something else, you know? And so that's whenever they're like telling her, you can't go with us, but we promise you he will be safe.
Yeah.
And so they go up to the, we cut back to him at the cabin, and he starts noticing that he got he gets that, something reminds him, or that premonition. He remembers that he didn't switch spots.
He sees
the paper that you talked about. Yes.
Rachel and Monica. He sees them and he was like, I never switched spots. Clear's seat was technically in front of mine.
Yeah.
Had I
not moved with them.
Yes. And so like at that point in time, you know, she's actually next. And so then he's like, I have to get out of here.
And goes help Clear.
Yeah. And then we flash back to Clear, and shit is going down outside of her house, basically. There's like lightning happening or something.
The electrical thing, and then the electrical wire gets like cut, the telephone wires or whatever.
And so then we just got this giant live wire flopping around.
Like an electric eel.
Yeah.
It's all in the air. And she goes outside because she wants to save her dog, because her dog is too close to it in the backyard. We do have her out there trying to get him untied, but it's not coming untied fast enough. And we do have the pool
and
that like got impaled by that rod.
Thing, that spinning thing, I guess that was a clothing rack too, I guess, to hang your clothes.
I don't know what it was, to be honest.
But I was like, oh, this looks
weird.
like the fan coming back into play at the beginning.
True, yeah.
But then it misses her, impales the
pool. And that pool is just in itself about to just completely come undone, because it's one of those like, you know, aluminum like put up pools,
above ground pool.
And we do have her narrowly not making it, because she does let the dog go just in time and runs off away from the water as it's coming towards her, and that electrical current is going, and she jumps onto like those rose garden things.
Yeah, she jumps onto the lattice.
The lattice. There you go.
On her house. And Prince thankfully did get away, right?
Yes, he did. The dog got away.
I heard him kind of yelp at one point while I was writing, and I was like, oh no, did
no,
die?
Because he went around and he was like looking at her and looking at the electrical stuff, and I think there was another shadow or something that was supposed to be like death, and he was like
I
to
didn't
death.
Like that.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. And while all this is happening, we're also kind of like flashing back to Alex running from now the FBI, because they
who are
came
chasing
to the
after
place.
him. Yeah.
They're chasing him.
And the boy gets on the lake. I'm like, that does not seem like a good plan.
He like canoed across the lake, got to the other side.
And they were right there.
Yeah, because they were like, okay, we're just going to drive around this little lake. And they were chasing him. And then he like falls down, almost
kills himself,
gets a log like through the face. And then, he's running again. And then there's another lightning strike. And it like makes a tree fall over. This tree falls on top of him, which alone probably would have
killed somebody.
Killed him.
Yeah. But it's on top of him, and he's like literally getting drowned by the tree, because he's like in this little
shallow water,
mosh
but
pit area.
He can't get his head up. Thankfully, he does get out though.
Sure does.
Because Clear's not dead yet.
Nope.
And he gets to her. Eventually, she's having one lucky event after another.
Yeah.
Because she's so much wild shit is happening in her house.
From getting through the house that's now catching on, like sparks going everywhere and things getting thrown everywhere by winds. And then like she ends up making it all the way to her garage. But like even as she gets in the car, like we see like things are like outside, there's still that electrical thing, and then
obviously the motorized system isn't working because
for the door,
the electric like everything is fucked.
And she's trying to get out.
Yeah.
And like essentially, I think at some point she just ends up putting it in reverse and like puts that hoe in yeet and just like rips the whole thing off and goes back. But she can't get far.
Something also comes into the car, punctures the gas line.
Yeah, from the front.
Then it all just runs out of gas. And then now, of course, with all the fire.
And she's like right in the middle of the driveway.
Accelerant. Yeah, with this live wire. We've got fire already happening. We've now got gas leaking everywhere.
There's so many ways she can die.
Yes. And then there's also turpentine now spilling from the garage as well. So this car is like primed.
Death trap.
To go up. And then that's when Alex gets to her and he's like, stay in.
Yeah, he's like, don't touch the door. Yeah, because you're grounded right now.
With the tires. Yeah. But if you touch this metal and stuff, you're going to get fried. Yeah.
So he kind of feels like he does what he feels like is the only thing he can do.
I'm going to save you.
He's,
and
so he's going to essentially tells her like, you know what to do. Whenever I grab this little wire thing, like you need to get out of the car and run as fast as far away from here.
I don't know why he didn't like take off that really heavy duty jacket he had on
and use something to hold it.
Wire.
And so I was thinking that too, but it's a movie. And so we do have him grabbing it. She gets out. She runs off as he's getting electrocuted essentially.
And then blown back from the fuse, like something exploding. And he gets...
Yeah, thrown all the way back.
And he's got like steam coming off of him.
And we do see that everything starts dying down. Like even the electrical current that was going through that wire is like done doing what it was doing. And so we have the two cops running, or FBI agents running up, and Clear running up to him. And I mean, I thought he was pretty much dead at this point.
Yeah, because they said he didn't have a pulse, or he's not breathing. He didn't have a pulse. And then all of a sudden we're back on a plane.
Yeah,
we're going down a runway, the tarmac thing. What is that called? Anyways,
a runway, I think so. Yeah.
And then we see Carter and
Clear
on the plane, and then Alex pops up. So you're like, oh, he's not dead. And they just landed in Paris.
Yep.
It was only 6 months later, I was like, I don't know if that's enough time. I don't think I would be able to get on a plane quite
for a
yet. While. Especially not going to Paris.
Yeah. And that's a long plane ride.
Yeah.
And they end up getting, but maybe, it's that trip they never got to take, but it's too soon. And so they end up getting there, and we do have them at this little cafe, kind of like the same setup where they were earlier, in front of a cafe on a corner and everything. And, they're trying to enjoy themselves, but we do have Alex who's like, there's just that one thing that it still bugs me.
Something doesn't feel right. Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. And he starts like bringing up his little plan, and he's like his little pattern thing.
I had that shit like ready
to go. And even the Clear is just like, oh, not this again. Yeah. And Carter's like, stop, don't bring it up. Because him and
Clear are together now, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
And
of course, the street performer in the background is playing John Denver, which I don't expect to go to France and hear John Denver being played.
For real.
Yeah.
And it was in French as well. And so like the language, but we do have them kind of talking about it. And we have what's his face, Alex, like starts hearing the John Denver in the back, and then picks it up, and then he's like, oh my gosh, okay. And so he gets up and he's like gonna go away from them, because I think at this point
every little thing is setting him off.
Yeah,
he's like, something happened. The waitress lit the heater that was next to him. Something fell off, made glass shatter, fall down, and so he's just like, every little thing is scary. And
he knows that he would be next. He should be the next target. So I think he's also trying to remove himself from them to like keep them safe.
Yeah.
And then he ends up, because he tells him, he's like, meet me back at the hotel room later or something like that. And so he's about to cross the street, and Clear like yells his name and saves him, because he almost gets hit by a bus.
Because she saw the reflection of the. Or she saw,
that's right,
much like he did, that like kind of premonition of the bus in the window, and when it wasn't there yet.
As that's happening, Carter is the one who jumps and saves him out and gets him out of the way. And that's whenever Carter is like, you see, like, if I just saved your life, then like, I don't remember.
He said, he goes, okay, well, I just saved your life. And he goes, and then Alex responds, then it just skipped me. And so Carter goes, who's next?
And he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, you, because the sign had fallen. Like Alex, I think, saved himself from the bus, but then this chain of events happened, knocking all of like more electrical explosions, and this big like marquee light fell, and it was like swinging down, and it would have just taken him out like but Carter jumped in the way.
That's right.
But of course, something that's swinging
comes back,
has to come back, and it got Carter on the back because it basically was like, who's next? And of course, Carter's back is to it, and we can see it, and we're just like, you. And then it goes to black.
That's the end of the movie.
Ending.
Yeah,
I liked that ending.
And that is 2000's Final Destination.
Yeah, a classic.
Pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie. I thought that the characters were pretty well written. There was kind of like, the weird girl, the jockey dude, the like classic comical goofy guy. It's like
your Breakfast Club.
The protagonist. Yeah, Breakfast Club, but make it spooky and all this bad shit happening. Yeah, essentially, even with the teachers and stuff. And, I really enjoyed it. I thought the deaths were pretty cool. They were pretty creative. Especially, I really like the teacher's death, Miss Luton. I thought her death was pretty cool with everything going on.
It was really.
And I like all the teasing of like when you think someone's gonna die a certain way, but then it doesn't happen that way.
I like that too. All the nice little fakes.
And for knowing what comes next in like Final Destination 2, 3, and like the rest of the way, it's really awesome seeing like the inception, like the original, like one, the idea of it all and stuff, and seeing how things grow. For that reason, I'm going to give it a 4.5.
That's exactly the number I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
Maybe because that's the number I thought I was going to say.
Yeah. I would give it a 4.5 in total boo ratings, booze. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like, I feel like that's a movie too that I would like, if someone wanted to watch something, a horror movie, and they hadn't seen it, I'd be like, watch Final Destination. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It's definitely not a scary one. I mean, it's a thriller and it's a little gory. Well, this one really isn't too much. You don't see, I guess Luton's death is pretty gory.
I mean, Terry's death, the blood.
Yeah. But you don't see her body. And so you just get the blood spatter.
Yeah.
But yes, all of it, again, really easy to get through. And I mean, it's action packed. We're basically, in the first little bit, we're getting someone dying, and then you're getting multiple deaths back to back to back to back. And there's some
there's
pretty
a death
clever
every
deaths.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting ways that makes you paranoid of everything. As they have ever since I've seen them.
Yep.
And then today my anxiety is a little high because I'm like, oh God, I'm going to die at everything.
And definitely a movie like that leaves you with like the lingering of like scared, fear.
What's going to happen
fear
next?
Essentially is what it is. You know, that's a good horror movie.
This is a movie that sticks with me more than other films have. So,
and I mean, because essentially, like, what is the thing that I feel like most people are most afraid of? Like, people. There's the dark. There's spiders. There's dogs. There's roller coasters.
I feel like death
heights. But like death is like the one thing that we can all, I feel like, unanimously are like death,
because no matter what, it will
come for
happen.
all of us.
Yeah. Which is. I'm gonna throw up. Great movie.
But to not disrespect death, I give it 4.5.
Yes.
And you too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. I'm curious to see how 3 stands up in my adult mind, as compared to 1 and 2.
I've seen these way too many times. Even like I watched the second one probably a week ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't.
The third one maybe a couple years ago.
I haven't seen any of them in several years. So I'm excited. It was kind of like the first one, I think I'd only seen once.
Okay.
No, actually, I think I've seen the first one probably 2 times, but a long time ago.
This was definitely, I think, just like only my 3rd time watching the first one.
Yeah.
And like actually watching it.
And then the second one I've seen probably 2 times as well. And then the third one, obviously, I've seen a fuck ton of times because I really liked it.
And see, the second one's my favorite. So that's the one that I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen that one at least 10 times.
Probably have seen the third one as much because, well, we had it on DVD. And so my friend and I would just watch it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that one stuck in my head as much as it did. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how that one stands up.
Yeah.
It stands the test of time.
And the second one has a continuation.
You can't cheat death, right?
They all continue.
Yeah.
They're all go in line with each other, but this one clears in the second one. So I like that too because it's going to draw back to this one as well.
Exactly. And so if you haven't gathered already, the next film we will be covering is Final Destination 2. However,
before that, right?
We are going to be doing So this was that surprise we were talking about for the new year. We're wanting to cover the listener request. We mentioned this a while back. We kind of covered some of them in the month of October, but we want to cover, we have quite a list of listener requests. And so every other week, we want to come out with an episode that's specifically from a listener and tell like y'all's favorite horror movies or least favorite, if you want to be like Brittany. And let us know why you fucking hated this movie.
Yeah.
I love that. We love to shit on a movie. And then of course we would, read your reviews. So you can always send those in. All of those people communicated to us through Instagram. And so that is what we're going to start doing. So every other week, basically, I guess like the second and fourth weeks of the month, you can expect a listener episode as well, in addition to. So we'll be covering a listener episode later on this week, but the next film we'll be covering in our main lineup is Final Destination 2.
Numero dos.
Yeah.
And that will be, like as always, in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios, which we are tonight. Thank you for recording us and sticking it out through it with us.
This one had a few asides, but it was fun.
Yeah. And then where can you find those lovely other podcasts that Rogue Media Network
You can find them, all of the podcasts that they have, you can find it in one central place that is
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
That's right. Or you can find it on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple Podcast. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you want to let us know your favorite scary movie or least favorite and get on our list of listener requests, you can do so by reaching out to us on Instagram, and that is at
Boobaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES Podcasts, because we're your boobaes, not your boobabes.
That is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized we actually did cover one of the listener requests on the on the list. It was Sinister 2.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh,
and so
funny.
I'll have to go back and actually get this person's review
On that one.
Yep. So we can
Tag it in.
cover it, because I was like, oops. I didn't realize we'd covered one from that list. So
we can do something to show them that we saw their
it's not like a
request. Yeah.
Really, it was just, it's not really a listener. I think she's listened a few times, but it's a friend of mine.
Gotcha.
I don't feel as bad.
Oh, that's okay. We'll figure out a way to do it. But all right, you guys, until next time. Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.